Hey class, this is Mrs. Lynn. Welcome to another week of remote learning. So this week we're going to start a new project in Google Slides that's going to take a number of weeks to complete. Okay, so what I'm going to say about that is because it's going to take more than just 1 week to finish, at the end of today's lesson, when you're done with your 2 slides that we're going to work on today, you're not going to actually go back into Google Classroom and turn it in. Okay. Once you turn in your project, basically you're locked out of the file. Okay. And you won't be able to make any edits on it unless you unsubmit the project. So let's just avoid that altogether by not turning the project in until the very end when we're done. So today I'm going to show you really quickly what the project is about, and then we're going to work on the first 2 slides together. All right, so the last few weeks we've been working in Google Slides, learning how to insert images, insert text boxes, and then last week we did inserting word art. So we're going to put all those skills together, plus I'm going to introduce a couple more. Um, and we're going to create, using Google Slides, a digital time capsule. Okay, so basically something that will let us add memories that we might want to come back to and look at later on, sometime in the future, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 3 years from now, or maybe longer. And we're going to use Google Slides to help us do that, right? So if you go into Google Classroom and open up the file that I've posted, this should be what you see when you first open it. Okay, so the title that I put on there is called My 2020 Stay Home, Stay Safe Time Capsule. Okay, so hopefully this is a good way for us to remember what this time was like for us. So on the cover page, you're going to have the title. And I already put the title there for you. You don't have to change the words in the title, but I would suggest you going to each of these word art boxes and change the font and the font style to something that you like. Okay, I just kept it pretty simple. I chose 2 different kind of fonts. They alternate on the page. But I really didn't do anything fancy with that. If you want to go ahead and change it up a little bit, that's entirely up to you. I'm sure you can come up with fun fonts as well. The next thing you're going to change, other than the fonts, is right down here where it says by Mrs. Lynn, you're going to change that to your name. Okay. And then the very last thing you need to do on this cover page is to change the background. Now, I picked this background because green is our color at GA, but also because I love daisies. They're one of my favorite flowers. They just make me feel really happy. And I feel like that's something we all need a little bit more of during this crazy time that we're living in. Okay. Now, you might not like daisies, so you are free to change that up to whatever you would like for your background. So as a reminder, to do that, you would click on the background button up here on the toolbar. Okay. And then remember, you can change the background to just a solid color. Okay. Or I don't know if I've shown you this, you can also change it to a gradient color. That just means instead of one solid color on your entire slide, it's going to be a general, like kind of like an ombre effect. Okay, let me show you really quick what that looks like in case that's something you would like to try. Okay. So I did an ombre kind of look for the gradient look with the color green. You see how it's a little bit darker up here, a little bit lighter in the middle, and then darker around the edges again, right? So that's the gradient effect. But I'm going to go ahead and actually do the image. And I'm going to go back to my search. So you can do a daisies, you can do sunflowers, whatever you like. You can do oceans or beach, whatever makes you happy. I'm going to go back to my daisy background because I really like that one. All right, and then I'm gonna say click done. Okay. So when you have changed the word art font and font style and your name as well as the background, you're done with slide number 1. You can move on to slide number 2. All right. So in this time capsule, I'm going to have you add different pages every week. And each week, you will basically work on a different theme or a different artifact to add to your time capsule. So the first one we're going to do is the All About Me page because that's really simple, something you can do on your own, and you probably don't need a whole lot of help from your parents. Later on, there might be a page where you have to interview your parents, or there's one page where I'm asking your parent to write a letter to you about what this time has been like for them. Okay, so we're not going to worry about those slides at the moment. Right now, we're just going to create our second slide, which is the All About Me slide. Now, if you look at my example, and yours don't have to look like this when you're done with it, but just take a look really quick at the example. I see that there's a title, and the title is All About Me. Now I know from previous weeks that I can either use a text box for this or word art. What do you guys think would be the best way to go about doing a title? All right, if you said word art, I would have to agree with you. Text boxes are fine, but word art just kind of gives a little bit more option if you want to add a little pop to your page, right? So let's go ahead and insert a word art, and I can do that from here. Insert word art. And then my title is going to be All About Me. I'm going to click enter to get that onto my page. And then just as I could reposition images, I can reposition my word art by just clicking and dragging on it. Okay. Now, if you see that red line that appears as I'm dragging it across the page, the red line just tells me that it's now in the center of the page. It's really a helpful tool for later on when you're adding other elements to your page because it can help you line up everything. Okay. So there's my word art. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it down a little bit because I kind of do want those hearts at this on the sides of my word art. Okay, I'm going to change my font to something a little bit bigger. Okay, there we go. All right. Now I noticed on the example that there's two little hearts next to each side of the title. So let's try to add some images to it. This should be a review, right? Because we already know how to insert images. But let's just do one really quick. I'll just do it on one side. And oh, you know what? Instead of hearts, I'm going to do a search call for stars. And I'm going to do a stars clip art because clip arts are like little cartoons or icons. Because what I don't want is to click to type in stars and have pictures of like actual stars, right, returned. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something like a cartoon or a clip art. So that's what I'm going to type into my search box. And then here's a bunch of stars that are returned. I'm going to go ahead and just choose one randomly. So I'm going to go ahead and click that one and then click insert. You can't see the insert box. Let me turn off my video really quickly so you can see where I'm clicking. Okay, so there's the insert button. All right, so there's my image of stars. I know it's way too big, so I'm going to use my resizing handles and bring that image down to the right size. And I'm going to put it on this side. Okay. I'm going to move my title a little bit off center just so I can fit that those stars in there. All right, so there's my title. The next thing I noticed on this page is that there's a lot of text, but they're in these boxes. Okay, and I like that because it helps me organize my information. Now, we've not done shapes before, so I'm going to show you really quickly how to get those shapes in. Okay, they're a little bit different than a text box because if you remember, if we just type something using a text box, if I say hello class, okay, um, when I'm done typing, there's no box or no shape around my text, right? So that's actually not what I'm going to use. I'm not going to use a text box. I'm going to use something called shapes instead. So let me delete that text box. So shapes is under insert again, insert shape, okay? And then here's my different shape boxes that I can insert. Or if you don't want to use the tool menu, you can come to this icon right next to where you can insert an image, okay? And this is where you can call out the same menu, okay? So we're gonna do the insert shape, and I'm gonna go to the second one here, which is a rounded rectangle. And this is basically how they created these shapes. Okay, so I'm going to go and choose that. Notice how my icon then became a cross. Okay, this is where I can then click and draw on my paper or on my screen to make that shape. I can make it as big or as tall or as short as I want, but right now I'm going to try to do this. Okay. All right, so there's my shape. I can use the fill color tool to unfill the shape. So right now I see a little bit of gray in my box. I can change that to white. Okay, that way I just see the border. I can change the border color. Okay, right now it's blue. I can change it to black. Okay, I can change the border weight to make it stand out a little bit. Okay, and I can change the border dash option to something like that's dotted or something that's a dash, right? However you want your shape to look. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is add text to it. Now, the cool thing about shapes is that when you insert a shape, you can automatically type into it. So all I did was basically double click on the shape, and then I see my little typing cursor appear inside the box. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change my font to something slightly bigger, maybe 30. Okay, and then right now I see that my text is right in the middle of this box. I can go to my alignment options, and this is something you guys can play with. I like it to look kind of like the example where my title is across the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and change my alignment to center. So my words are gonna be in the center and to appear on the top instead of the middle of the box. Okay, so do you guys see how my cursor just moved to the very top center? Okay, and then I'm gonna do a few lines and say my favorite, oops, cannot spell today, my favorite, okay. Enter. And then I'm gonna go ahead and change my alignment back to align left. Okay, so now my cursor is on the left of that box. Okay, I hope that was pretty clear. Something you can play with. I don't really mind however you decide to set up your box, but I'm just trying to follow along as best as I could. Now at this point, you can use the headings that you see in the example, or if you have other favorites that you want to add to the list, you can do that. You can use the bulleted list feature if you want to create a bulleted list, or just have it line up like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and create my short list. I don't really have a favorite toy because, well, I do like a lot of board games. So maybe for toy, I'll just write down board games because I love board games. My favorite color, that's a really hard one. I never know what to say. Let's just say navy blue. I do wear a lot of navy blue. My favorite animal, I'm going to skip that one. I never know if I guess I like my puppy and I have a lot of animals at home, but let's skip to favorite food because that's one of my favorite things to do is just to eat. Korean barbecue. Favorite show. Right now, I'm watching The Goldbergs. Movie. Let's see. The last movie I saw was Onward. Book. The last book I read was Little Women, and so on. Right. So you guys can type your list of favorites in on your own. Now, let's say I stop there and I notice that my box is way bigger than my list, right? So again, my box is basically an image that I can resize. So I'm going to grab the handles right here until it becomes a 2-arrow handle. And I'm just going to drag it up so that my box is not super big. Okay, and there's my first section. Okay, there are several other sections that you can add onto. This is your page. So if you don't want to share your shoe size or how much you weigh, you definitely don't have to, but just make sure you fill up this page with cool information about yourself. There's one section here that says my best friends. When I grow up, I want to be. If you have other ideas of what you want to share about yourself, you can go ahead and do that. The only thing I want you to keep on this page is the date. A date is like a really good piece of information to have in a time capsule, because you might be looking at this time capsule 10 years from now, right? And you might not remember what date it was you created the time capsule. So that's a good idea to keep that date on there. So when you do look back a few years from today, you know exactly when you created this. So for now, I'm going to write down today's date, the date I'm making this video, which is, um, let's see, April 6th, 2020. And you can see I used the shapes again, shape box again. And I was able to just type into my box. And I'm going to make it nice and big. I'm going to center my text. Okay. And I just use a rectangular box for this. Okay. So I'm going to pop that in the middle. I know that I have space for maybe 2 more shapes here if I wanted to follow the example. If you want to insert a circle, you can go ahead and click shape and then choose the circle shape. Okay. But that's it for now for this week. You only have to do 2 slides. Make some changes to that title slide that I created for you, and then start adding stuff to this second slide, which is all about you. Have fun with this. I hope you stay safe and healthy at home while we're doing remote learning. And if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to Mrs. Lin either through Zoom or through my email. I'm always here for you and I'm praying for you. See you later. Bye.